This happened a long time ago, in winter. In one small town there lived a beautiful, lonely girl of 28 years old. Her name was Amy. She lived completely alone and did not communicate with anyone at all. Being single was her choice. Something happened to her in the past, so she avoided communicating with people. She was able to do this easily because the area she lived in was very quiet. She rarely went outside. She only went outside to quickly walk to the nearest grocery store to buy food. She didn't buy clothes, she wore her dead grandmother's old clothes. To go out, she put on her grandmother's old coat, an old hat, and old boots. All these clothes were still quite suitable. And at home she wore the first thing she could get her hands on. This girl is already accustomed to loneliness. She didn't need to work because her dead grandmother left her a big inheritance, a lot of money, and this little apartment that had old furniture and a lot of books, and nothing else. She stood in front of the mirror and said, "Yes, I hate people." Walking down the street, she looked down at her feet. She didn't look at people's faces, she didn't want to nod in response. One day, returning home from the store, Amy sat down on the bed and thought with surprise that today on the street, on the way to the store and back, she had not met a single person. The street was empty, and it was somehow unusual. But she quickly forgot this strange fact, because she didn't need people at all. A few days later, when she ran out of food, she went to the store again, bought food, and while returning home, she noticed that there was no one on the street again. She felt a little worried. Something is happening that she cannot explain to herself. But, returning home, she quickly forgot about it again. There are no people, and there is no need. She took the book and continued her reading. There was a calendar hanging on the wall. She looked at the date, December 27th. She remembered that New Year is coming soon, and she needs to go to the store again to buy more groceries, because after the holidays in their small town, stores are not working well, many stores are closed, people want to relax. The next day she forced herself to go to the store. Going outside, she again noted that there were no people. She felt scared. Something is clearly happening in this town that she doesn't know yet. It was so unusual. After all, she used to meet several people on the way to the store and on the way back home. But in the last 2 weeks the streets had become completely empty. Entering the store, she noticed that there were no people in the store. She took the basket, walked through the aisles, selected the products she needed, put them in the basket, and went to the cash register to pay for the products. But now the seller was not there either. Amy decided to wait for him. She waited for the seller for several minutes and said, "Hello, is anyone here?" But no one responded. She again began to wait for the seller. Several more minutes passed, but no one came. She felt uneasy. She walked around the store and looked for the seller. But he was nowhere to be found. She waited, realizing that she needed to return home, because in winter it gets dark very early, and she wanted to get home before dark. She walked around the store feeling panicked. What to do now? Leave without groceries, or take groceries home? She decided that she would take the groceries and pay for them next time. She left the store and went home. And again on the way home, she did not meet a single person. A few days later she went to the store again. It was early morning. Opening the apartment door, she was worried. What would happen this time? Walking down the street, she looked for people. But the street was empty. She decided to leave her quiet neighborhood and go to where the buses go. Maybe she will see people there. She reached the area in 15 minutes of brisk walking. But to her surprise, there was not a single person at the bus stop. She sat on a bench and decided to wait. Maybe people would appear soon, and then the bus would arrive. She was sitting at the bus stop and didn't see any people around. Also, the bus didn't arrive. Her mental state began to deteriorate. She didn't know what was happening, and therefore didn't know what to do. It was approaching noon, which meant she needed to return to her area before dark, go to the store, and pay for groceries. And then she has to get home before it gets dark. She reached her area, entered the store with the goal of first finding a salesperson, but there was no one at the cash register. She walked around the store at a brisk pace, looking for the seller. He was nowhere to be found. She again took some groceries, left the store, and hurried home. At home, she sat on the bed for a long time without taking off her coat and hat. She felt hot. She took off her coat and hat, and closed her eyes trying to understand what was happening. She breathed deeply, realizing that despair had come to her. She realized that she was left completely alone, and she did not know where the people had gone. That evening she did not open her book, did not read anything, but only looked out the window until darkness. She was only thinking about where else she should go tomorrow to meet at least someone to clarify this incomprehensible situation. Then she fell asleep. Next day Amy left her house again. She stood at the door and didn't know where to go. She decided to go again to a more busy area, in the hope that if she spent a lot of time there, she might meet at least someone. She reached the bus stop, but like last time there were no people there. She sat down on a bench, looking around, looking for people. After 2 hours, she realized that there was no point in sitting and waiting any longer. She got up from the bench and walked down the street towards the school, because now is the school year, children should study. Maybe she'll meet someone at school. When she reached the school, she did not see a single person. She decided to enter the school to make sure that no one was there. But when she grabbed the doorknob, she was afraid to open the school door. She was afraid to go in there. Perhaps her psyche, shaken by incomprehensible events, failed. Amy decided to walk around the school and look into the windows. She walked around the school, looked into every window, but she did not see a single person in the school premises. Now she walked along the street and looked into the windows of residential buildings, but there were no people in the residential houses. She understood that it would soon begin to get dark, and it was better for her to return home. She walked towards her house. Returning home, she realized that she had not eaten anything since yesterday, and decided to cook herself dinner. She boiled the kettle, made herself a quick instant soup, and sat down at the table to eat. Despite her hunger, she realized that she could not taste the food. It was probably the effect of prolonged stress. She ate, but only thought that tomorrow morning she should leave her house early so that she would have more time to look for people. Despite the stress, Amy forced herself to eat all the soup. She finished the soup, pushed the plate away from her, put her hands on the table, and lowered her head on them. She didn't want to think, she wanted not to think. She realized that she was falling asleep, got up and went to bed. She had a dream. She was walking down her street from the store. There are many loaves of bread in her hands. The street is deserted, but from the windows of the residential houses hands reach out to her and try to snatch the bread from her hands. She doesn't see the faces, she sees only the hands. She wants to give bread into these hands. But she feels that the hands of invisible people are very cold and rough. She sees that the street is lengthening, and there are more and more hands. She is overcome with horror. She wakes up. She woke up happy. It was all a dream. But it wasn't a dream. Because when she goes out into the street, she again doesn't see people. She walks quickly to where she herself does not know. She walks very quickly, pinches her cheeks, pulls her own hair. And suddenly she starts screaming loudly. Amy screams and walks very quickly. Then she runs. There is a park ahead. Amy falls to the ground in the snow. She started crying desperately. Having cried all her tears, she rolls over onto her back. Amy sees the blue winter sky. She begins to shake violently. Suddenly she realizes that she went outside without warm clothes. She forgot to put on her coat, hat, and boots. She quickly returned home. She boiled water for tea and made some tea for herself. Amy took out a box of chocolates. Amy drank tea and ate sweets. She ate all the candy. Amy looked at the shelves with books and realized that she did not have time to read these books. She loved to read, but now she doesn't want to read. She doesn't understand why she should read these books. What for? Amy realized that she didn't know what to do at all. What should she do now? What should she do tomorrow? Dear friends, what would you do in such a terrible situation?